So as you can see, we got a whole lot of area to do, but I got to get the stuff out of the way so I can check that. But first I'm checking for flatness. I'm gonna start in this little closet here. And I'm taking in short spaces like this, I'm taking a 4-foot level and just dragging and checking my gap. And then in bigger areas like this, I got a piece of unistrut, like 10 foot, I think. And I'm gonna try to drag it and just see how flat that is. And I'll have to swap, depending on how much room I got, swap between. But anyway, the general rule of thumb, I believe it's an 1/8 inch for like 4 or 6 feet. I think it's 6 feet. And then 10 feet, no more than 3/16 out of flat. Yeah, I'll show you in a second. So I got me just a wood shim here. I got me a mark, that's 1/8 inch, and that mark is 3/16. You can see here, it's flat. I've already moved my level this way and this way, touching the wall. So that's flat there, no gap, no gap. But in the middle here, you can see I have a gap. So what I'm gonna do, everywhere I have gap, slide the shim under there and see what line it goes to. And so like this is a 6-foot span, or within a 6-foot span. So I need no more than that 1/8 inch. So if I can put it in there, that 1/8 inch, which as you can see here, it doesn't make it. It's under an 1/8 inch. Now right there, it's touching, my shim's touching the wall, but that is, so I'm just gonna put a mark somewhere here. 1/8 inch is where that starts. And it's over 1/8 inch here. And then right here, so somewhere here, so somewhere about right here. And so I'm gonna drag this out and see how far it comes. So I got my area here. I'm gonna make the mark a little bigger, but that's where we're starting at here. And then right over here, see how far it comes out. And I put a mark this way to show where it stops. And I'm just gonna put low. So right there, I need to get a marker so I can see it better, but anyway, you can see low, and then I'll mark, and if I have any high spots, I'll do the same thing, I'll mark around it and put high, and I can take a floor sander, sand it down, and then anywhere that's low like this, say it comes out to right here somewhere, I'll put some skim coat, like floor patch down, and sand it smooth and get it all flat within the tolerance of 1/8 inch, shorter, 3/16 for longer. So that's what I'm gonna do in here, and everywhere I can use my level, and then I'll come back in longer places and use my unistrut. This is just some trim, but I'll get some unistrut or something longer, straight, that doesn't flex and drag, and do the same thing with it. Probably take a little while, but I need to mark out everywhere that's not flat within tolerance. So let me get done with that. So I'll turn my level this way and check the floor that way to make sure, and that's all flat, it's all even. It's just this section here, it's got a little dip just right here. So as you can see, it's a little under 1/8 right there. Sorry for the shadow, but see right there, it's about an 1/8. And if you come out any farther, not quite an 1/8. So, and then it gets even better out here. So basically I put my line across there, and this little, I'm gonna get a marker because you can't hardly see this. This area here is low. We're good. This whole closet is done now, which is a small closet, but just this little square is low. We'll skim coat that, and we'll move into here. So I'll come and check this room in here, and I use my 4-foot level first on it just to see, and then come back with this piece. It's not unistrut, just something similar. It's the longest I could get, that was 8 foot. And so I got a little bit of a high spot right here. I don't know if you can see. I really got to get a marker, but I got it marked here. There's a little bit of a high spot you can see. And then it kind of turns and goes right up here next to the seam. it's high. So I'm gonna sand that down. And then just looking like this, it's pretty straight all the way over to here, and then it starts kind of like getting low next to this wall. So after I take this high spot down, it should drop that just a little bit. And eventually it would get to a point where this starts coming up, because it would make kind of like a crown in the middle. So I don't want to go too far, do that. If I bring this side down just a little, if they're both in spec, we're good to run the flooring. We're gonna move on to this room in here now. I got the bathrooms, closets, all the laundry room, all the small rooms done. Use my level there. Now I'm starting on the bedrooms. I check this first and then use that to double check because it's longer. And I'll do the same thing on the other 2 bedrooms and the living room and kitchen. I'm gonna go tomorrow and get me a 6-foot level. 4 foot, I would not want to go smaller than 4 foot, and it works great in like bathrooms, closets small like that, hallways here, it works fine. I got this piece, but it's a little too rounded on the edges to see. So a 6-foot level has a good sharp edge. It's easier to see the gap, and it helps it on bigger areas. Bedroom like this size is not terrible. With this, it just takes a little longer. 6 foot would be better, a little faster. And then out here, definitely with all this area to cover, 6 foot would go a whole lot faster, and it's a little easier to tell the larger areas that are flat. Most of the areas I noticed that are low, like most of these boards, one piece are gonna be flat with each other. And if it has a dip, it's easy to tell those, no problem. But most of your low areas, I've noticed in here, a few I have is up against a wall. Like right here, I have one. And this is the direction that the floor joists run. And I don't know if it's just because it's in between 2 floor joists and the floor sags a little bit right there or what, but like right here against this wall, that's a low spot. And in the laundry room in there, same way, it's got one that's low. And also in this other closet, they're all up against the interior wall. And most of my high spots I've noticed are seams. So like, even with this, you can tell, even with a 4 foot level, even with the 4 foot level, you can run it across, say this board and this board, like you slide it over and transition to these boards and they're flat with each other. And then these are flat with each other, but then somehow right here, it seesaws in the middle. It does it all the way down right here because this seam is high all the way down. And most of my high spots I've noticed are right on the seam where they join together. Also, I've had a few, when you're dragging, obviously you notice if it hangs up, it's got nails sticking up. So I got my hammer, tap those nails down flat. This is working pretty good too to tell where my gap is. So what I have here is a high spot that I'm marking out. I'm putting little dashes, as you can see. Hold on. If you can see here, I got little dashes on each side. So I'll have my level over here and just kind of find the center of my level on the center of the hump and let it teeter. And then I can see where it starts dropping out, having gap on each side. And that's where I'll put a mark on each side there. And then here. And then keep going on down until it ends, and then I'll put a mark this way, but keep marking it all the way down. Then I'm coming back and just drawing a line. And this is probably just a floor joist that's crowned a little more because the floor joists run this way. So there's the outside block, and then in the middle, there's block pillars that has a 2x10 beam, 3 2x10s together, beam running down the middle, and then floor joist running over there to that block wall on the foundation. So, you use liquid nails, glue to run all down the joist, and then, you lay your flooring on there and then nail it down to the joist. And right here, I'm assuming is just one that's crowned. Your crown always goes up, so I'm assuming this one's just a little crowned up more. So when they, you nail down your subfloor, it just kind of bows over this joist here that's crowned. So no big deal there. We'll get it taken down, but it does. I'm sure that's what it is because it runs from the wall all the way over to here. That's one of the biggest things is determining whether something's a hump or a low spot. And so with the 6 foot and the 4 foot, you can kind of use a combination of those and going through there, and you can figure out what's a high spot and what's a low spot. So far, that's kind of the most aggravating part. But all right, guys, I got everything marked off. I'm about to go and start doing the leveling. Oh, highly recommend these is Walmart. The most expensive ones they had, they're like 30 bucks, but dude, these knee pads right here work awesome. Cause I had some little cheap thin ones. My knees still kind of hurt crawling around, but I highly recommend these here. These work good. So anywhere like this where I don't have any nails in it, I'm gonna use my little hand planer here and just take a little off of it and recheck it. Now, other places like my seams here, if I have a lot of nails, I mean, I can take a hammer and a punch and tap the nails down in there, seat them down farther where it doesn't hit, but I don't want to take a chance because I may miss one or two. You know, there's a lot of nails on these seams. I don't want to miss them and doing my blades and my planer there. So I got my my trusty grinder here, and these D-Walks, man, you can really abuse these and they keep running. So I like those, but I got my grinder there, and I picked up a couple of these discs from Harbor Freight. There's a few places I have some high and low spots close to each other. Not many, but there's a couple like right here. So for whatever reason, this section of the floor was basically just wavy a little bit. Like it's got a couple high joists and then not, and then a couple more high joists, or, you know, staggered. So this part's high, this part's low. So I thought, you know, maybe get the high part down a little and the low one up a little and just kind of get them even with the section that's in between. So we'll do that. And if I bring the high spot down, I'll recheck because I may not need quite as much filler on the low spots. So as you can see here, is a high spot. And if I check it this way, it's also a little bit of a high spot. So compared to the rest of it. So what we're about to do is plane that down. There's no nails around that. I'm gonna start on, I don't know, it's got 64th increments on this one. I'm gonna start with a 30-second. Get it on 1 30-second, skim it over, try to, and recheck it. So let's check here. Got just a little bit of rock to it. It's almost smoothed out. Right there, a little bit more on the top side up here. So I'll come on up a little farther, like right here, and maybe come out, taper out just a hair. Oh, that's pretty dang close. All right, so that works good. Planer works great for any high spots and without nails. So we're gonna give that a thumbs up. I'm gonna come out just a little bit more right here. All right, we're gonna go ahead and swap to my grinder, see what we can do with these seams. I'll go out a little bit wider, like where my marks are. I got my marks a little wider out. Check my shim, see how it has a little hair movement, but it's within the spec here, so we're good there. This here, it was definitely a floor joist that was, because it goes from the center here to the wall, and you can see it started getting high there and then started getting low, or back down level over there. Definitely a floor joist. And I did that with my my planer, because I circled all my nails that were in the floor, and they were down enough to use my planer without hitting a nail. So I just skimmed across that. So this one works good. I mean, the grinder works really good with that bit. As you just saw, taking metal down, and it's not hard to feather it out. I don't know, we'll do some more and just kind of see which one I like better. The planer works really good. This was a large area, and I think, you know, you can take metal off quicker. I mean, wood off quicker with the the disc, feathering it out into a larger flat area. Planer probably works just a little bit better. You can just run over it several times with a very small increment and just feather it out into the other part of the floor. But let me carry on. When you have little small areas like this and that, this high spot, no problem. When you have a floor joist where the middle of the floor joist, the crown of it is so high that it leaves a long, wide high spot, that is the biggest pain in the rear gears. All right, so one thing I'm doing when I have I showed you all this spot earlier. When I have a long, wide spot, I guess it's like a joist or whatever. The thing I'm doing to mark it off is I've done some of this already, but I still got a little bit more to go. But for example, right here, I'll put my level and I'll balance it out to where, you know, it teetered in the high spot where it's the same on both sides balanced. And then, for example, right here, and then I'll put me a circle around the center of it, and then I'll come out to where it starts really tapering off and put me a mark on both sides, and that'll give me a reference point. That's the peak, this little circle, that's the peak of my high spot. And then back here is, you know, where I'll start. And like to start with, I did that, and I started in the middle and just took some all the way down to flatten it down. And I come back again at like a 16th on my planer and started back here and go all the way across to my next mark and do that a couple times. And it's getting it tapered out. I only have a little bit more to go right here. Now, even though I'm set just under, I'm at 364, so is what I had this set right here. So, I mean, and I drove my nails down about an 1/8 inch or maybe 3/16 under the surface originally, so I wouldn't hit them. And I'm not down to that yet, so I haven't taken quite 3/16. So, I mean, you know, it looks like a lot. You have a pile, if you sweep it up, a pile of shavings. It's really not that much, you know, when you look at how much you've taken off. And it's 3/4 inch subfloor and plus the joist under there. So you're really only taking an 1/8 inch or a little over off. It's not really doing any damage to the structural strength of, you know, the subfloor here. I'm sure somebody, you know, that does professional, you know, is professional, does flooring for a living, they can probably comment on here and say, you know, there's an easier way to do that and do this and that, whatever. That's fine. It's just the way I decided to do it. I mean, there's always more than one way to skin a cat. Okay, about to get ready to mix up my feather finish. This is the Henry's 549. They didn't have a big bag, so I got 3 of these 7-pound boxes. Well, bags in a box. You can mix. It says up to, the thickness is up to 1/2 inch. I don't have anywhere that thick, I think. Most of it's between 1/8 inch and, you know, 3/16, maybe 1/4 max in a couple of places. But yeah, and it dries pretty quick, so you can work flooring on it after, like I think it said 20-30 minutes. And you mix it 1-to-1, which, you know, 1 part powder, 1 part, I'm sorry, 2 parts, 2-to-1, 2 parts powder. You can't see that, 1 part water. But for the whole 7-pound, it's 1 3/4 of a cup. I mean, a quart, 1 quart, 1.75 quarts of clean water. So I got a bucket of clean, cool water. From what I know, cool water, it mixes up creamier and it doesn't dry it as quick and get it dried in the bucket on you. And then I got a bucket here with a stick to mix it up with. So we're about to get started, just an old mixing cup. So I swept and used my good old shop vac here to clean my spots. I got this corner in this room, this corner here, a little spot here, a spot by the wall there, and then the spot along that wall there. You'll see it better in a second. But that's it, 4 little spots. So I'm gonna start on this one first. I got an outline here I'm gonna fill in. The stuff just sets up a little quick as I'm working it. It's setting up and I can't do much with it. And what's in my bucket, and I mean, I only mixed a little bit up, but it's already wasted it. So this you can sand a little bit, you can sand it so you can kind of smooth it some if you need to. So one thing I figured out, mix a little bit more water than it calls for. If you mix exactly by the instructions, it's really thick, so it's harder to spread. And then by the time you get trying to feather, work it in and try to feather those edges, it's hard to feather them out because it's drying so quick. And I'll show you well, you saw earlier what I was talking about. I'll show you again. But what I figured out, of course, with anything you do, the more you do it, the better you get. You know, that's what practice is for. But what I figured out is if you mix just a little more water with it and get a certain consistency, it lays on smooth. You can work it in and then you can feather it out. So I got my 2 cups here, and it says 2 cups to 1 cup of water, you know, 2 to 1. So 2 cups, 1 cup of water. But what I figured, and this is 1 cup exactly, but what I figured out, you mix, I don't know, somewhere around 1 and I'll put some more in it in a second. 1 and maybe 1/4 for 2 cups. And I don't know what the exact will be, but you're just looking for a better consistency. So, I don't know, we'll just kind of do like 1 and 1/4 and just see, and I'll mix it and then I'll look in a second and see what the consistency is. A little more water. You don't want to mix water after it starts curing, like starts setting, because it weakens it. I know that even says it here. And you don't want to get it too thin. But when you're first mixing it like this, you can mix it in and get it good and creamy, kind of like a cake batter. You get in the little cans, you know, that's about that size. And it just smooths on, work it in, feather it out, and then let it set. So let me mix this up and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Okay, I don't know if you can see there, but it's not clumpy. It's kind of like mortar or like some thin set sort of. You mix it, it's good and just creamy. And we're gonna mix that in or spread that on. I'm gonna start with that much for now. So there we go. Just level it out, let it sit up for a little bit, and I come back and check it and see if I need to add just a little skim coat and a spotter. So afterwards, but that did a lot better and it's not drying up on me too much now. All right, we got everything, high spots sanded, low spots patched and leveled there. Everything's good to go. We'll go